Do you think that it was because of how you look?
Look, I don't know what the motives are. I think the point is this, Aaron, and as I said when I came out of the building a little while after the incident, if this can happen to me, a United States Senator representing the state of California, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security and the people around the Secretary will treat a United States Senator for having the audacity to ask a question, then imagine what they can do, imagine what they are doing to people in communities, not just throughout Los Angeles, but throughout the country. Now, but back to the facts at hand here, because I also heard Governor Pawlenty's remarks. So let me just set the record straight. The point was made, this wasn't at a park, this wasn't in front of a shopping center, this was inside a secure federal building. Yes, I myself went through security screening to enter the building. Why was I even there? I was there for a scheduled briefing with representatives of NORTHCOM, Northern Command, because from the Department of Defense to the Department of Homeland Security to the White House and everywhere in between, this is an administration that has been anything but transparent and accountable to the members of the Senate, to the Congress in general. In our role of oversight and accountability, we have questions. We have questions. How is it that Donald Trump would, against the wishes of the governor of California, against the wishes of local law enforcement, nationalize, federalize National Guard troops and deploy them into a city where local law enforcement says, we can control this.
And so, Senator,
go ahead.
No, I just want to say we're awaiting an order from the judge, which we expect could come anytime, actually, in the next sort of 15 to 20 minutes on that order, because there was a hearing today. So we could get that news even as you and I are speaking. But I understand that it's just when you look at these images and your staff was there, they were able to record what happened in the room. And then when they took you in the hall outside and they put you on the ground and they handcuffed you, and everybody's watching it, and people are trying to understand what happened. It's unsettling. I mean, can I just show again the moment that you were detained, Senator? Because they're telling you to put your hands behind your back. They force you to the ground. They handcuff you, right? And this is after in the room you'd asked a question. Now, when she was talking, it did sound like you were talking over her. You heard the governor say you were trying to create a spectacle. Tell me exactly what happened. You're just sitting in the room, and then what? Tell me how you see it.
So here's what happened. So I'm in the conference room a couple doors down waiting this briefing with representatives of Northern Command. We learned almost on the spot that there's this press conference going on down the hall. Now my briefing is delayed because of the folks in that press conference. From the moment I entered the building, I'm being escorted by a member of the National Guard and an FBI agent. I asked, well, since we're waiting, can we go listen into the press conference? They escort me over to the press conference. They open the door for me. I'm standing in the back, behind the reporters, behind the cameras, just listening in. And at one point, the rhetoric just got to be too much. Not the first time, but the second time the secretary takes it upon herself to say that the Trump administration wants to liberate the people of Los Angeles from the governor and the mayor. It was just too much. And so, yes, I said who I was. I began to ask a question, and it was maybe half a second later before there was multiple agents on me. They shoved me outside. I was trying to both get my question out and not lose my balance. One is telling me, get down on my knees. Another one's pushing me in a different direction. There was no resistance. To the contrary, I kept asking, why am I being detained? Get down on your knees turns into flat on the floor. I'm trying, but I'm being pushed and pulled in different directions. I'm finally down on the floor. They handcuff me multiple times. Why am I being detained? No response, no response, no response. Finally, minutes later, I guess somebody around the secretary realizes this is the United States Senator. And they come running down the hall and finally say, let him go. Again, the point is, if it can happen to me in that setting, imagine what they're doing to people all around the country. And Aaron, let me also underscore this. It's not just about immigrants' rights, which so many peaceful protesters are shouting about in Los Angeles. It's about all of our rights. The reason this crisis, this spectacle has been created by the Trump administration this week is because of all the bad headlines of recent weeks, right? Their budget bill is being exposed for what it is, gutting healthcare, gutting the social safety net to underwrite tax breaks for the rich. He certainly hasn't brought peace between Russia and Ukraine. He's losing every other day in court. He's broken up with his BFF Elon Musk. So what does he do? He distracts and he scapegoats and demonizes immigrants.
So, Senator, can I ask, as I watch this, I'm struck, and I'm sure many people are struck, whatever their politics may be. You're a sitting senator, you're in the room, and you identify yourself. We hear you identify yourself. I'm Senator Alex Padilla, I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I heard you say it, I think, at least 3 times. And then this happens to you. I'm just curious. I'm sure maybe there's some part of you in that moment. You're saying, well, I'm a sitting senator. This is not going to end. This isn't going to end badly. But you still had to be shocked, right? I mean, what was your emotion in that moment? I mean, there's not a position that you would have ever expected to find yourself in a press conference, suddenly being tackled and wrestled and thrown to the ground and had handcuffs put on you?
Look, it took some restraint. Growing up where I grew up and how I grew up, Aaron, trust me, it's not easy when you may be pushed around like that by a law enforcement official to have that restraint, because it's a physical reaction. But you know that if you don't oblige, it can escalate even more so. So I think I was very, very restrained with everything that happened there. Flash forward to now, I'm getting walked down a hall in handcuffs, not being told where we're going. Are they escorting me outside? I don't know. Am I taken to a detention facility? I don't know. It's probably not to another conference room to, go await the briefing, which never happened, by the way. After this all went down, the very folks I was supposed to meet with just said, no briefing after all. So, it saddens me, not just my kids that are watching this, and I've had to talk them through what happened and what it means and why I do what I do, but so many kids around the country seeing an administration that puts United States senators in handcuffs. This is not normal. We cannot treat it as normal.
No, it's not normal. Secretary Noem, she came out afterwards, and I'll play you what she said. I know you have since had a 10 to 15-minute conversation with her, and I want to ask you about what happened in that. But I wanted to play for you first because I know you may not have had a chance to hear this. She went on Fox News. She talked about the incident. Here's what she said happened.
This man burst into the room, started lunging towards the podium, interrupting me and elevating his voice, and was stopped, did not identify himself, and was removed from the room. He didn't say who he was until he was already had been lunging forward, and people were trying to detain him for quite a period of time.
So that's what she said. I don't know whether that was before or after you spoke to her. She said you had a great conversation. What can you share about that conversation? Would you agree it was great?
Well, first of all, from the interview, of course, lies, lies, lies. We've already established I did not barge into the room. I wasn't lunging at her or anybody. And yes, I identified myself. So when the cuffs came off, they offered a meeting with the secretary. And Aaron, look, I'm just trying to do my job as a senator. When we ask questions in committee and don't get answers, okay, let's try another approach. We send formal letters, whether it's on my behalf or on behalf of so many of my colleagues, requesting information as to what the heck they're doing. They're not responded to. And so, yes, when I had a potential audience with the secretary, I took it. Sadly, still not forthcoming with any sort of data or details, because here's the problem.
Any apology? Any apology for what happened to you?
You would think, you would hope that that's how the meeting would have started, but no apology, no acknowledgement whatsoever. But it's the Trump administration, so I'm not holding my breath for decency, decorum, or manners here. One of the big points I was trying to make with her, is, look, I get if the Trump administration was doing what Trump's out on the campaign trail. Let's focus on dangerous, violent criminals for detention and deportation. There's no disagreement there. There's no debate there. But that's not what's happening on the streets of Los Angeles and throughout the country. There are some, and that's a good thing, but when they're cruelly detaining and deporting, oftentimes without due process, so many other hardworking people who our country relies on, that is not in our national interest.
So on that front, just in LA, talking to people and hearing what people were saying, they would say, well, I was here legally. Someone would say, I came here illegally as a kid, but then I went through the process and I'm legal now. One person was talking about how they actually are working as someone who cleans the rooms for ICE agents who are staying in hotels detaining people. right? And they're too scared to go to work to clean the rooms, even though they need the money because they're worried the ICE agent staying there might detain them just because they're Hispanic. And that brings me to the DHS. They're putting out images of Uncle Sam urging Americans to, in their words, report all foreign invaders to ICE. That's actually came out from the official X account for the Department of Homeland Security. Deport all foreign invaders to ICE. Where is this headed?
Yeah. Well, look, Trump and his entire administration are great at misinformation and disinformation, at causing chaos, at causing division. Where is this going? It's going to keep getting worse. This is how authoritarianism happens unless and until the people speak up and push back. And so that's why you've seen so many protesters, vast majority peaceful protesters, not just in and around Los Angeles this last week, but increasingly in other cities. So we have to continue to exercise our First Amendment rights, keep it peaceful. Violence is not tolerated. Violence is not condoned. That will have its consequences, but people need to continue to speak up because this is not normal.